Most senior leaders are letting their teams down. And the thing is, they genuinely don't know it, and they certainly don't intend to do it. Now, I want to be clear before you click away. I am not here to bash senior leaders. I've been one, I've coached them. I completely understand the pressure that they're under. But I want to talk about something that I see over and over again in workshops and when I'm coaching people, a thing that I think costs organizations an enormous amount in results and in morale. And I think almost nobody is willing to talk about it out loud. So, this week's video, I'm going to explore this leadership gap and discuss why it happens and what you can do about it, because I've got opinions and I want to share them. Now, I want to tell you about something that happened in a workshop I ran. I was working with a group of very bright, capable, mid to senior level managers in a large organization. And we got onto the topic of presenting to the board. Now, these managers had a monthly reporting cycle. Most were presenting to the board nearly every month, and the process was clear. They had to get a pre read document, or actually, it was the deck they were going to present from, out to the board ahead of the meeting. Everybody knew the deadline. Everybody busted a gut to get it done. People were staying late, cutting corners on other things, pulling the deck together under real pressure because the pre-read had to go out on time. And then a few days later, a week later, they were in the room with the exec. And it would become very obvious very quickly that several people in around that board table hadn't read it. And of course, this has a knock on effect because if we're suddenly talking about an agenda topic, and this is the first time we're properly thinking about it and working to understand it, it is very difficult to make decisions on it, which of course is what they're there to do. So it becomes easier to ask for more information, maybe delay the decision. And therefore, the same people who prepared the deck, who've presented it, are then tasked with more actions to help the decisions get made. All that effort, all that pressure. And the thing about it is, no one says a word about it. Nobody shares that feedback because it's just how it is. Now, I have heard versions of this in so many rooms, so many organizations, so many different industries. People tell you things in workshops that they may never say out loud at work normally. And when you sit there and listen as a coach, you start to see the patterns. You can just see the whole problem laid out in front of you. Because what this story is really about is not the pre read. It's about what happens when the people at the very top of an organization are operating in the same reactive, time starved, unprepared way as everyone else. And nobody will call it out. Everyone falls into this is just how it works around here, and it becomes normal. It's the culture. I call this the busyness trap. And if we think about where this urgency, busyness comes from in an organization, culture flows downhill. It starts at the top and it moves downward. When senior leaders are constantly reacting, constantly in firefighting mode, constantly running from one thing to the next with no time to prepare, no time to think, and no time to actually lead strategically, priorities become blurry, important conversations are missed, and that becomes the temperature of that entire organization. And the thing is, most of those senior leaders have got swept up in this urgency culture on the way up in their career, just like everyone else. And people often tell me when we talk about this that they feel like thinking and planning time is a luxury. So they just keep running faster. And now they're at the top of the organization. This is the culture they're setting, often without realizing. Just keep on running. And this ripples its way down, which is where you come in. If you are like most my YouTube audience, you are mid to senior level manager, and you're sitting right in the middle of this. You're taking the pressure from above and trying to protect your team from the worst of it below. You are absorbing it. You're extending your day. You're doing whatever it takes to keep all those plates spinning because you genuinely care and because nobody is telling you to do it any differently. The fact is, organizations keep rewarding a can do attitude, the person who goes the extra mile. And they will keep saying, we want you to do all of this, but we're not going to give you the budget or the headcount or the breathing room to do it properly. So you do more and you do it in your own time. And it's easy to think, yeah, this is leadership. But the one thing I know for sure from 2 decades of corporate leadership and 10 years in coaching managers, that this is not leadership. So, what does leadership actually look like when you're stuck in the middle of this? I want to talk about something I call the golden hour. And I know, I know when I say this in workshops, what you need is 1 hour a week of protected time to think things through. And I say this to a room full of senior managers. I usually get the look, the polite smile that says, that's a lovely idea, Helen, for someone who doesn't have a diary as full as mine. But what happens time and time again is when we talk about it and we spend time on this concept, look what's involved, we come to the end, and I always say to people, what was your biggest learning insight? I cannot tell you how often the answer is the golden hour. And when I look at everybody's action plans afterwards, it's consistently one of the most common things that people commit to implementing. And when I work with my coaching clients and they actually implement it, they always say, I can't believe what a difference this has made. Now, think about that for a second. These are experienced senior professionals. And the thing that lands most powerfully is the idea that they can protect 1 hour a week to think, to plan, and to get ahead. And that they can even do that in work time. That tells you everything about how starved managers are of even the most basic conditions for strategic leadership and thinking. Because when you have that time genuinely protected to step back, look at your work situation, something massive changes. You start to see the week and the months ahead instead of just reacting in it. You set your priorities. You connect with the right stakeholders before there's an emergency, not during it. You coach your team instead of just solving their problems for them. You prepare for the meeting instead of walking in cold. You have the right conversation at the right time. But what we're talking about here are habits that are deeply entrenched. Getting out of this reactive mode is genuinely difficult. It can feel a bit like trying to break out of a cycle that you've been in for years, which is why I've found that having a framework, a system that makes it easier to set a new way of working that sticks matters so much. And that's what the Leaders Ladder is built around. It starts with getting clear on this. Your most important job as a leader is not to do the work, it's to create the conditions for the work to get done well. You need to be a guide, an unblocker, and a coach. And that requires time. And most organizations are not going to hand it to you. You have to build it. Now, I want to add one more layer to this because we are living through a moment where all of this is about to get significantly more complicated, even if it's not already. AI is not going to solve this urgency busyness trap. If you are already running at capacity, if you are already reactive, AI is going to accelerate all of that. More outputs, faster turnaround times, higher expectations, more noise. The urgency culture is going to speed up, not slow down. In fact, there was an article in the Harvard Business Review just recently, and it had a name for when you add AI into your work, and it was called a brain fry. But there is the other side of it. AI also offers the biggest opportunity that managers, I think, have ever had to reclaim time and to be less reactive. The admin, the noise, the low value repetitive work, AI can do a significant amount of that and get it off your plate. It can help and inspire your thinking, but only if you have already built the habit of working above it. The systems or ways of working have to come first. The tools follow. If you try and bolt AI into a chaotic way of working, you're just going to get faster chaos. This is why the work of becoming a more strategic, more intentional leader is not a nice to have right now. It's, I think, one of the most urgent professional development needs that you should be doing. So let me bring this all the way back to where I started. Most senior leaders are letting their teams down, not because they are bad leaders, but because the culture of urgency and busyness is serious. And if nobody makes a conscious decision to resist it, everyone just falls into it together. And that ripple effect goes all the way down. But I also believe, with everything that I have got from a decade worth of working with and watching managers do this work, is you must not wait for permission from the top, because it is never going to come. You can decide to lead differently right now at your level in your team. And when you do, when you create the conditions for your team to work at their best, when you get ahead of the week instead of behind it, even if it's not perfect, you will find that you start showing up to meetings prepared and present and strategic. And the thing is, people notice, teams notice, and careers move forward. This is what I help managers do. It is genuinely the thing I am most passionate about, helping leaders find the time to lead and building the systems and ways of working that mean they show up on the front foot rather than the back foot. Because I know how those two different things feel. I have lived on both sides of it. If you want to understand where you currently sit as a leader and where systems fit in, I have a free assessment. It's called the Leaders Ladder, and the link is in the description below. It takes about 5 minutes and it will show you clearly where your biggest opportunity is right now. And if this video resonated with you and you want to go deeper on building ways of working that actually gives you the space to lead, come and find me. I would love to hear what your biggest challenge is right now and if I can help you. If you found this useful, please subscribe and perhaps share it with a fellow manager who may be in the same situation as you. And in the meantime, I'll see you next week.